Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Thursday, St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Quick recap for tonight. Very nice continuation from the last couple days. I think it's the biggest three-day rally. The headline that I just posted, biggest three-day rally since I think November. So, really some nice price action, constructive price action, a very heavy event driven week. Fed yesterday, quadruple witching this week. I'm hearing a lot about, short gamma and possibly some heavy short covering that had to happen this week. That's definitely interesting, but we could see if this kind of sparks kind of a bigger move. Again, what I said yesterday was with the FOMC, what I thought was constructive, not so much the raising of the planning of the raising of the interest rates, or the how many times they're going to raise interest rates this year, but just more, I guess, more so the planning of it and the more clear communication. Right? I think that gets some people, off of the sidelines a little bit, just having a clearer picture, and dipping back into this market too, right? So I think a combination of things. I think the quadruple witching that is coming at us for tomorrow has some dealers having to cover some positions because a lot of puts are going to be expiring worthless. And I think also the picture from the Fed. Do I think that we go straight up, no problem? No, I don't. I think that there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, along with all the events that are going on in Ukraine and Russia and China in the picture too, a little bit there too, with I think Biden talking to China tomorrow. So, I think that this market will give, for example, if you feel like, oh, geez, I missed this move, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities. I don't think that we're going to, personally, I don't think that we're going to go right back to the highs. I think it depends on the groups. So if you look at the performance for the day, small caps led, they were up 2%, but the Qs and SPY were no slouches today. They were both, is that right? They were all up 1.2%, or do I have something wrong here? It says that the Dow Qs and SPY were up 1.21. That's really odd. Is that right? SPY was up, let me just double check. It says SPY was up 1.25 now. Qs I do see up 1.2%, and the diamonds were at 1.2, so very close. For some reason in my spreadsheet, they all say the same. How about that? That's the luck of the Irish, I guess, for today. So I might as well put that in a special color for the day. So that's all green. Very nice. TLT, it seems like nobody really cares about bonds right now. It's funny, sometimes people care about, the market cares about bonds, sometimes it doesn't. We are sitting right around the lows there in ZB 30-year bond futures, and that'll be interesting to see if that holds. Right? Who knows? Maybe a double bottom is going to happen here, but for now, it's right on that support line for now. Right? We go back to the S&P chart. I might as well talk about that, and then I'll talk about some more market moves. So we are inside value. That's a big thing for me, right? So I don't have a lot to complain about here, right? As I've had over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about lower highs and not over the 20-day moving average, not inside value, right? Well, all three of those things have changed, right? So we're now above this, right? So we're out of the pattern of making lower highs. So that's a good thing. We're inside the value area. We spent, a good portion of the month below value, which is a little bit dangerous to me, not so good. And definitely wasn't ruling out going lower here, but we managed to kind of hang in there. And then if I didn't say it already, above the 20-day moving average. So, the weekly picture, it looked like we were trying to carve out some type of a low here. So, this is constructive. So I'm not going to downplay, I'm not going to come up with something negative about this. This is pretty good. Am I still being, trading disciplined into this? Absolutely. One of the, a couple of things that stood out to me was that I know it's getting a lot of attention, right? I know that a lot of names are coming off the lows. For example, if you look at one of the worst areas of the market, the ARC ETF, right, is, after taking out this lower VPOC, has staged a really nice bounce. And you're going to go through charts like a lot of the growth names, right, that have really been beaten up. They had a very impressive rally. I mean, this ETF went from basically $53 to 62. That's like a 20% move, you know, in just a couple of days. So that's impressive. There's no doubt about it, right? So I think what'll really be interesting is this, you know, or is the high growth names, are they going to continue to rebound from the lows and turn the corner? I'm a little bit skeptical, right? I'm a little bit skeptical. So I think if, you know, going back to what I said in the beginning of the video about short covering, I do think that there's more short covering going on here. But I don't think it's all short covering. I think some people, and you've heard some people come out and say that they're buying this beaten up name and this beaten up name, right? I think there was somebody on Fast Money that said yesterday that they were buying a firm, right? So there is some dipping the toe into some really beaten up names. If you have that long time horizon, you feel like you may be getting a little bit of a deal, right? If you're going to put it in an account and not look at it for a while, right? The other thing that I find very interesting is the energy names really came back, and oil, right, made this big bounce today, up 8.7%. So I focus, if you're a newer viewer in my videos, I'm a trend trader, so I stick to trends, right? And I'm mainly playing things that are in uptrends. Now, I've talked about before, you could day trade whatever you like. It doesn't matter if you're day trading something, you're only in it for, could be a couple hours. So it really doesn't matter what it looks like. But if you're doing more swing trading, right, then I'm sticking to uptrends. And I thought that was a very impressive bounce by oil, right where it needed to at the top of the March value area. Also, gold, not as impressive, but gold also did close above value. And if you look across some other commodities too, right, you know, so the commodities really came in hard, right, you know, last week, right, or the beginning of this week. Yeah, the beginning of this week. So they're fighting back pretty decently. I mean, that's a big move back for copper. And again, a lot of this is also moving on the tensions with Ukraine and Russia too. So if you look across stocks, I mean, you know, Devon, what is a standout name to, and this name was almost up 10% today. So this dip was bought. You know, same thing when you look at Alcoa, right? Again, all these names that are in big uptrends. Alcoa, the dip was bought, right? This went all the way down to $69, back up to 80, right? So I do feel a little bit more comfortable in these names. SLB saw a big call buyer. I didn't play this one because I don't like the chart as much. I actually bought Halliburton instead. Halliburton and Schlumberger are the two biggest holdings in the OIH ETF, right? You could have just bought the OIH ETF too, but there's another headline on the tape. So they're speaking of tensions, Putin is likely to make nuclear threats if war drags. So, you know, maybe he's getting kind of desperate because this conflict is not ending the way that he thought it was going to be. So interesting, that hitting the tape. So yes, if this, and again, the way that I'm thinking about the move in the commodities, and you know, some of the names that I just covered here, if this conflict just goes on for a long time, then I think that you're going to see things like this, you know, continue to move higher. CF not as impressive. I think CF Industries might need a little bit more consolidation because it made such a big move, but I think, you know, keep it on your radar. Another name too in that space is Anderson's, you know, not a name probably on your radar, but, you know, made a real nice move. What about the material names? Really impressed with the moves here. Dow. So again, what's different about this stuff is it's in an uptrend, and look at the weekly chart, right? To me, this looks very appealing, right? Because again, the situation with names that are in downtrends is they're going to have to fight with overhead resistance, right? They're going to have to fight with overhead supply. People who have been long and stuck in these names may be bailing on, you know, on a move up here. Dow, I think, looks very good. You might get a close above the value area for the year, right? Another name too, starts with the letter D, is Deere. Made a new high, right? And you look at this and it's not extended, right? I don't think it is anyway. I mean, this was a big move that it made in a year, basically from the pandemic low. and then basically went sideways. I've talked about this name before, and it's been kind of back and forth, back and forth. And, maybe this time it really starts to get going. So that's what I think is kind of is interesting in this market. I did a little bit of buying. I bought some Newmont, which I think I got a target. I got one target, but it didn't act as well as, some of the other names. We saw a lot of call buying and things like this today, right? CCJ, which is another, back in that wheelhouse of names that might do well with this type of thing, right? And here's my trade blotter. I do show this. Here's the Halliburton, Newmont, Amgen I bought as well. One other thing I also hit a target in VRTX today, so that was nice just to go through my blotters. I try to show that every day. I think I'm one of the only ones who shows trades on FinTwit, right, on Twitter, right? Everybody talks about trades, but they don't actually show you what they do, or some of them show paper trades. I get it. From what some of these people do on Twitter. Another ETF that we were talking about in the room today, and I think this is, going back to, and I'll kind of leave the bottom line for you. If they're going to be raising rates, I don't know how many times, 3, 4, 5 times, whatever. They do want to be raising interest rates. This is something that has worked really well. Look at the volume here. I put this on Twitter earlier. I think I still have this chart up, but look at the inflows. So you can, on Bloomberg, you could actually bring up the inflows into the ETF and you can put them on your chart, right? So all this volume has been inflows going into the ETF. So it's not that big of an ETF. So it's about $1.8 billion, which is not that huge, but it's just, you could see the interest since the beginning of the year that's taken place here. So you might ask yourself, okay, what is this? Is it an agriculture ETF? It's not an agriculture ETF, although that's what you would think it might be, right? This is companies with high free cash flow yields, right? So it's a different way, it's a different valuation metric, right? And if you look at the names in here, it's names that you probably are aware of. It's a lot of names that we talk about, right? Conoco's in here, Occidental's in here, Archer Daniels, Midland, AbbVie, which has been a rock star, Bristol Myers, which is trying to break out, FCX, right? And then you got your CVS and your Altria group in there too, your LYB, which is another chemical name that we've been talking about, IBM, right? So, Regeneron, which has been breaking out too. So, this is something that, I think is a trend that's going to continue to last. And I think buying dips in this group is something that's probably going to be a theme for the rest of the year, as long as they talk about battling inflation. All right. So again, things like this, it'll be really interesting if ARK could actually get over the 20-day moving average or high growth type. I'm just using this as a proxy. If you want to use FFTY too, because they're also growth, I would watch for a break above the 50-day moving average here. This doesn't look bad in terms of an inverted type head and shoulders. And maybe this can kind of get going. Now, keep in mind, they do switch up their ETF quite frequently. So this is, it's different than the ARK ETF, right? If you look at their holdings, right, they've got things like MATX in here. They've got CMC. They've got the CF in here. They've got Cliffs, right? So it is the Innovator 50 ETF, but it's a lot more exposed to things that are trending right now in the market versus your ARK fund. All right, guys, that's it for today's recap. Have a very, very happy festive St. Patrick's Day, and I'll see you guys back in the room. Don't forget tomorrow not St. Patrick's Day, for quadruple witching. A lot of volume on the open. Why? Because index futures expire on the open, right? And dealers will be offsetting their expired positions with baskets of stock, right? So don't get fooled by the volume on the open. It'll be big, what's called market on open, MOO, MOO, right? And then at the close, we've got 2 big rebalances, right? There's the S&P quarterly rebalance and the NASDAQ quarterly rebalance. So be mindful of that. There will be heavy, heavy volume, right? And if you do get a dip tomorrow because of quadruple witching, that might be a place to kind of look to, put some money back to work if you took some profits today. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.